We're going to be live. Awesome. Hello, ladies. Welcome. My name is Taylor Thompson, live here in the Sheen Network, and I'm so excited. Okay, so this is Tuesday with Taylor, and I have an incredibly special guest here I can't wait to introduce you to. So as you're coming on, let us know you're here. Want to say hi. We want to welcome you where you're coming in from, where you live. And also, like, whenever you're coming in, just make sure that you click the StreamYard link that it says, allows us to see who you are, so we know your name. So with that being said, my name is Taylor Thompson, and we are, I have an amazing special guest here, and her name is Miss Laura Ratliff. Now, I'll tell you the backstory here. So, well, first of all, how are you, Miss Beauty Queen?
Taylor, so great to see you. I think last time we connected was my wedding in Salt Lake City.
Yeah. So so I'll tell this. So this is like a fun story. So Laura married one of my dear friends, Mr. Barton Ratliff. And so I connected with Laura through Bart. And so Larry and I were one of the special guests that was able to travel to Salt Lake and get to watch the nuptials in true fairy tale form. In true fairy tale form, we got to watch them, exchange vows under the most incredible set of circumstances with just a few family, friends, and members. And so it was such a pleasure. You guys make such a great couple. Me knowing what I know of Bart, he definitely married up.
I did pretty well myself, so I leads by his heart.
He's definitely one of the great guys. If I would, I've always been a guy's girl, right? So Bart and I would have been best friends growing up. I mean, I asked him. I said, "Can I be your best man?" And he was like, I would probably consider that.
I love that. Yeah, he's definitely connected to his heart. And if you're one of his friends, then he'll just take you in and love you forever. So yeah, he's definitely a special kind of guy.
So I wanted to have you on here because obviously, what you represent, ladies, as you're just now coming on, like you can see, this is not necessarily the kind of entrepreneur that we normally have on here, as you see with the beautiful crown and sash. And so what we have here is Mrs. Australia, and she's going to be competing for an international crown right there in July. So we're going to talk about that, but and what it took to get here and where she is. But we're going to talk about like her journey and how she got to this place. And because I know you didn't always see yourself as a beauty queen, right? So how did all this unfold? Where did this come from? Now you obviously are from Australia.
Yes.
So down under, right? Is that down under?
Yes, Sydney, Australia. You can call it down under if you like. I'm not related to Crocodile Dundee, but yeah, Taylor, as you know, I went through the performing arts industry, then I became my own business owner, and now I'm in pageantry. And I'll just kind of give you the rundown of how that happened. Let's go back to when I was 5. I was really, really shy. So my mom put me into acting and dancing class, hoping that it would bring confidence from within, and then it could help me learn better at school, because I was struggling a little bit with answering questions in class and I was petrified. So I wouldn't answer the questions from the teacher, and they thought there was something wrong with me. So that kind of stuck with me for a long time. I thought that I learned different to a lot of children, and I thought that there might have been, maybe I wasn't as smart as the others. So anyways, I went through performing arts high school in my teenage years. Then I went traveling overseas, came back, and I was
I'm going to pause you for just a minute.
Yeah.
So, like, if you were growing up with those kind of thought processes, did kids make fun of you? Were you bullied?
No, I wasn't bullied as such. I definitely stuck to myself, and I felt that maybe I was in a way. I felt that the teacher would really single me out, and I felt that she, well, looking back, she probably thought she was helping me. But by saying, stand up and answer this now, stand up, it actually making me feel like I was very insecure, and maybe she didn't like me, and I didn't excel in that class, especially that class. So my mom actually took me out of that class, left the year, and then I went to another school, and I felt that new teacher really took me under her wing, and she gave me the love and support. And she actually taught me a little bit differently, because I'm very creative the way I think. I don't think in numbers. I definitely think in images. And I think that's why acting and dancing really resonated with me, because I'm very creative. I'm not a mathematically thinking mindset. And but anyways, that whole experience from kindergarten, year 1 and year 2 really stuck with me for the rest of my life. And I guess in a way it kind of gave me the drive. I want to be better. I want to achieve. And I always thought in my mind, I'm here to do something great. I wanted to understand what the world was all about, and I wanted to do something good. I always had that in the back of my mind. And I think that the support from my mum and my dad really gave me that whole drive of, I can do something good. So yeah.
So I want to tap into that for just a few minutes, because there's a couple of different things, as kids are growing up, especially, I mean, thank goodness for your mom that she recognized you and pulled you out of a situation, that, could have been really detrimental, because, sometimes I think as adults and teachers and our kids, if they're in the wrong environment, that they can't thrive in, even with the best of intentions, as adults, and how we speak to kids, and the impact, the long lasting impact that can have, good or bad. If she would have pulled you out of that situation to put you into an environment that was healthy for you to be able to flourish in that kind of environment. So I think as moms, it's such a, such a great thing to be able to always be astute and in tune to what's going on with your kids at school, even at such an early, formidable years, to find out what's actually happening, because it did shape the trajectory of your life, and it could have gone a really bad way, even with encouraging family, right? Even with an encouraging, without someone else fostering that along. I think that's such a great point to make.
Yeah, Taylor, this is what I'm all about, is between the ages of 0 to 7 for children. That's a very crucial time where children are growing and they're learning. And what I would say to an adult is, never take on someone's opinion or thought. Always look into the matter. Don't just take it for face value. Now I've put all of my mindset skills into a book, and I would love all teenagers around the world to read it, because our mind can really create our own reality, but we have to believe it and have that support system around us. So if my mum had have listened to that school teacher in kindergarten class, I might have gone the complete different direction, had no confidence in myself, just given up on the world and just kind of done whatever. But now I'm writing my book. I've gone through the performing arts career. I've created my own business to bring happiness to children in Australia and in the US. And now I'm Mrs. Australia, competing for
Whoa, we gotta slow down. I'm like
crazy.
I'm like, let's talk about that piece. Let's go back just a little bit. Okay, so you're in the performing arts. You're in Australia. So what did it lead to you? Because all of those tools, those assets that you had growing up, became your own entrepreneur. So let's take it from there. Like, how did it? Because I mean, there's a lot in between all of those dots.
Absolutely. So Taylor, because my mum put me into performing arts, I just loved dancing. It was a way for me to express my heart, basically, and share it with people. And then I really loved theater. It took me a while to learn lines, but I would learn by listening to lines instead of reading them and learning them that way. So I found my ways of getting around how my creative mind works. So through my performing and traveling overseas, coming back to Sydney, Australia in my mid-20s, I actually got a job as a fairy. for a little local company, and I was like, that sounds great. I had some friends who were doing cheerleading jobs and just bids and bobs to get them through school.
Now I
And
have to tell you, like you definitely like your look, how you talk, you definitely have the perfect role. Like you look the part of a fairy godmother. Like I love that. I mean, so suitable for you without question.
Yeah, it was so funny because I never thought I wanted to be a business owner and teach other people acting or performing. I just found a job with a local company and started working as a fairy. And then through that process, I learned how good I was at performing to children. So it was through the love of performing that I found my true core purpose, which we'll talk about later. But so, yeah, I would perform to children at these weekend parties. I would get more than I would get in my hospitality, because at the time I was serving tables and, working in bars and doing that to get me through my acting career. But it was that performing to children dressed as a fairy which really stayed with me. And I got so good in this small little company that I was getting more work from these repeat clients than the owner herself.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was only after 6 months of working with her and learning how to do magic and learning how to do face painting and balloon twisting and games for children. So someone put the thought in my mind, here you go, the power of thought, that I should have my own business. And do you know where my mind went? No, I can't do that. I'm a performer. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not a business person. I could never do that. But
don't you think that that's like a default position for most women, especially?
Yes.
That they think, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, that can't be me. They don't think they're good enough or equipped well enough to be able to, because nobody's ever said that, right? Yes. It's never been in their, it's never been a thought placed in their brain. We've been trained to do it a particular way. And that's way out of line of normal thinking. Would you agree with that?
100%. And you're also so scared of the unknown. It's not familiar to you. So fear sets in instead of conquering or seizing the moment, if you will. Mm-hmm. But Taylor, it kept on, like the thought kept on coming back to my mind every day. I was like, could I do this? And I would just ask that question. Could I do this? Could I be my own boss? Could I build my own business? And so I had a conversation with some people who were in business themselves. And I was like, how do you build a business? And they were like, well, what equipment do you need? So I put that down on paper. What skill do you need? So I put down, I need a script. And so forth. And do you have an accountant and all those little things? So I wrote a list of all the things that I needed to do. And within 6 months, I saved up the money for the equipment. And then I was ready. I actually learned how to build my own business. And this was build my own website, which is about 11 years ago. So you can imagine like the templates back then and not like a drag and drop like they are now.
I can imagine.
So I didn't have the money to pay for someone to build my own website. So I learned that myself. I bought a template from the States, actually. It was all Webco. I don't know if they're still around today, but it was like $300. So I took the time to learn how to build the website and so forth. So when I had a fairy costume, I had a little headset microphone, and I had my website. I launched it, and within 2 weeks, I started getting bookings. And I had a close family friend who I won't mention who that is, but they were scared for me. They said, do not quit your hospitality job. Do not quit your other job for the other company. And I said, watch me. I'm going to get work. 2 weeks. I had nothing for 2 weeks. And then after that, I got bookings every single weekend for the next 12 months. And then I just started growing my team. So crazy.
This is like true. Because a lot of the ladies in here, they're in network marketing, so they almost have like a business in a box. Like, they don't have to worry about building the website or having, all the tools. All they have to do is just basically to your drag and play or plug and play, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about like true entrepreneur, like, okay, I have to start from scratch. I have to do everything. And I'm the janitor. I mean, I'm the IT. I'm the customer service. I'm the whole thing. I mean, that had to have been really, really scary to do out on your own. So once you started that process and you started having success, how did you scale? How did you scale that business? And what happened next?
So Taylor, I never thought about what could go wrong at that point. I guess I was blessed because I was mid-20s at the time, 26 when I launched the website. And I never thought, but what if this doesn't work? I just kept on going, what do I do next? What do I do next? And that's how it kind of grew within time. So after 12 months, I realized that I couldn't do all the parties myself because they would get like all the bookings would come in at 2:00, for example. And so I couldn't be at all the places at once. So then with time, I just learned how to hire, how to train. I very quickly realized I needed a structure. I just kind of learned what I needed in that moment at that time. If I didn't know the answer, I would find it either online or another professional. I just always had that drive to find the answer to a problem if I had a problem. So
there's such learning tools in what you're saying here, for all women that are entrepreneurs, right? All women that are entrepreneurs that, you don't have to know all the answers. You just have to keep moving. Mm-hmm. You just have to keep pursuing and taking the step. It's like driving in the dark. Right? It's like driving in the fog, I guess, right? So you don't have to know A to Z. You just have to know how to get from A to B. And another thing that I appreciate what you're doing and what you're sharing is that if you don't know the answers, go ask. Go look for somebody who's already walked in that path, who've already had that experience. And that applies to all businesses and all women who are entrepreneurs building a business. That applies across the board. Such great mindset and thinking about, because we never have all the answers. We never have all the answers. There's always somebody that knows more than us, but you've got to be willing to ask. And I love that. I love what you're sharing here because, that's how you grow.
Absolutely. And Taylor, being a woman, we're all very connected to our emotion, which is a good quality. Do not shun that. However, I had to learn through the process for the last 10 years, really, in my business, that I have to emotionally detach to goals. Not lose focus of the goal, but I had to detach emotionally to getting to where I wanted to be and enjoy the ride at the same time. Like I think I watched a documentary with Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee said, be water. And that really stuck with me. Be water, just be in flow, be in the moment, and allow circumstances to run through you and let it go. That way, you're not going to get emotionally attached to a bad review, someone booking and then canceling and so forth. You know what I mean? All these things happen on a daily basis. But if we're emotionally attached to everything, then if we call it bad circumstance, if that does happen, you have to detach from it, because you're going to get to where you want to be. It's just time, and you got to let go emotionally. That's a big lesson that I've learned.
That's great. And there's such a great wisdom in that too, because, there is no thought in emotion. And so if you allow that to control the thoughts, then you can't stay focused on what the end game is. So that's such great advice there. So as you were scaling, as you were building, obviously you were getting other fairy princesses on your team. To do what you do.
I pinched myself, Taylor. I was like, I cannot believe I think it was year 4 of my business that I had the big aha moment that I couldn't believe I did what I did. And my parents actually, I think, were surprised. Because I had an office in Sydney, Australia. There's an area called Chatswood, and it's a business area. So I actually had an office on level 20 in this beautiful building called the Zenith Building. If you're from Sydney, you'll know what I'm talking about. And it was marble as you walked into the foyer, and you go up to level 20, and La La Land had a little office, and I would work and do bookings and do my trainings from that office. And then on the weekends, my team would go out, but I can't help myself. I did the work as well, which you probably should take yourself out of the business and work on top of it. But that's been something that I've had to work on because I just love to perform. But it was I think it was year 4 of my business that I had to pinch myself. I was like, I have a team. I think it was about 15 or 20 at that point, and I had grown up to doing, I think it was like 20 parties every weekend, and I had the money flowing in. And I actually, at that moment, I couldn't believe that I got to where I got to, but I asked and prayed, how do I grow my business? And that's kind of when my business started to plateau because I was asking, how do I grow it? But I think I was detaching to my heart, and I was looking at strategies and money. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. So then the next kind of 3 years, I went on this massive gratitude thing, which isn't a whole nother story, but I had to kind of learn how to reattach back to my heart, which at the beginning of my business, I was already there. But the strategy of looking at the money and the strategy of marketing, it actually detached me to my heart, which is a big learning lesson for me.
So this is such a great lesson, because it's so funny because there's so many lessons in this, and lessons that I actually teach within, what I do and teach in network marketing. Yeah. Because there's so many times, especially after you've started having some experience, and I'm equating this to network marketing because that's what I know, but the same principles apply. Yeah. And that is that women in particular, we become attached to the result, which meaning the result was to your point, was the money, right. And you start looking at the growth factor, or whatever the desire is for you, and not the activity, which is where you were initially connected to, which meaning for me, and I'll resonate this with a network marketer, we lose sight. And I talk to moms all the time, I started in a business because I wanted mom care versus daycare. I wanted an extra $800 a month, and whenever you lose, and that was my why, to your point, that was my heart connection. That's what got me started.
Yeah.
And then, so whenever you start looking at outside of that why, or that, to where you're saying that heart connection, you stop being grateful. You stop being okay, wait a minute. I am achieving why I was here. This is why I started, and becoming back to center focus, right? And why you're here, and why you started to begin with. And so many people lose sight of that. It's such a great point to assess.
It's funny. Organically, I was tapped into abundance at the beginning of my journey when I was in my mid-20s, because I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew what I loved to do. Hence the word, I knew what I loved to do. So I was doing what I loved. I never got in my head. I just was always focused on the next step. And that's how I led to year 4, year 5 of my business. And then I started thinking, how do I grow? Detached from my heart, tapped into the brain, but you have to always be connected to the abundance, which is the power of our heart. So I think it's also my age, because I was mid-20s, then I hit 30, and then now I'm 36. I got in my head in my beginning of the 30s. I was like, okay, I really need to do it now, and I need to build, and I need to get those money goals, and I need to get married, and I need to do this, and I need to do that. And I was totally detached from love, from my heart. And that is where abundance lies. It's a feeling and emotion, not a thought and a strategy.
So good. It's so good. So what happened? So whenever you came to this revelation, okay, so I got to recenter, I've got to reassess, I've got to reevaluate.
Yeah.
Whenever you did that, then what happened? Because now we're getting into where you currently are at this point.
Yeah. Okay. So now for the next sort of 4 years, I'll kind of go in blocks like that. I actually ran into that moment in the office where I was like, how do I grow my business? And I was going to all these different marketing seminars, half-day seminars, 3-day seminars, and so forth. And I actually ran into a lady. Speaking of network marketing, I'm all for it. I absolutely love it. I was at a face painting event. I had about 6 or 7 of my face painters painting at this beautiful downtown Sydney, Australia market. And this lady came up to me and said, so are you open to ways of growing your business? And I was like, are you kidding? Yes, yes, yes. And so she actually sent me a card. You're going to love this story. And then she had a meeting with me in my beautiful office. And she showed me a tool which you could send cards to clients and appreciate them. And at that point, I was like, no, I don't need cards. In my head, I was like, that's definitely something that is a luxury and not something my business needs. I need to be paying pay-per-clicks, and I need to have an advertising budget. And that's not an advertising budget. That's a luxury. That's what I thought. So I put that to one side. And I kept on running into her at events because I started networking at that point and meeting other business people and so forth. And then it was like 6 months later, I ran into her at another business networking event, and I was like, she's so lovely and she keeps on giving me advice, and I better buy her tool. Like I felt bad for not buying and supporting her because she was supporting me and inviting me to all these events. So I started using this tool to send out cards, and I decided to actually try it at a show. So I had a show with 200 people coming, a kids show. And so I sent out cards with photos to all of the people who came. And as a result, I actually got an influx of people calling me, thanking me for the event, and referrals and so forth. Why I'm telling you this story is because
not realizing that the whole bottom line to all this was your gratitude.
Yes. It's all about, I needed God or universe, whoever it is for you, sent me this lady. She needed to reconnect me back to my heart, which was acting on your promptings every day and sending out kindness and gratitude to your clients and your personal contacts and so forth. So it was through the act of sending a card, I was reconnected to my heart. Later on, I met the man of my dreams, who we were speaking about before. I wrote down what I wanted in a man, and he appeared 2 months later. I'm not joking. And then 1 year and 1 day later, I was married in Salt Lake City. So the power of thought again. But so not only did I meet the man of my dreams, I actually expanded my business Australia-wide and into Salt Lake City, Utah, and I found my core purpose.
But now we still have to answer the question: how did you get this crown up on your head? How does all of that?
Yes, that ties into my purpose. So as I went on this business journey, and then through personal development, deconnecting to my heart and reconnecting it, finding again, taking the focus off money and onto my core purpose, I found that I love to sparkle for children. I love to spread joy and happiness around the world for children. But then I found with my husband, there's a problem in the world. We have a lot of children. Did you know this, Taylor? There's 15 million children in the US living in poverty and 730,000 in Australia, just those two countries. And then not to forget all the other countries in the world. So there's so many children living in poverty. So I talked to my husband about this, and I was like, this is terrible. It actually makes me cry on the inside. And so we spoke about it, and we actually have now built a charitable organization, which we're going to be getting behind a lot of different programs to help children in poverty. And that's connected to my book. My book's all about mindset, teaching for teenagers so that they can believe in themselves. They know that with the power of your mind and thought and emotion and energy, you can achieve your dreams. You just have to believe in yourself and find knowledge. But that's another story. So basically through that, my whole mission is to inspire children to greatness. And the problem is helping children in poverty. And me and my husband have a big goal. In the next couple of years, we want to decrease those numbers dramatically. And apparently, according to a study that I found, if you give children in poverty programs, you can actually increase their life personally and professionally by 33%. So we're very driven to give them programs that will definitely help them for their future and to achieve their dreams. Because let's face it, children are our future. If we can help our children, then we can grow more positive communities in the future. And the pageant came across my journey. I was not looking for it. It just fell into my lap. So.
Well, I mean, like, there's no coincidences, right? There's no coincidences. There's no, I think everything always happens for a reason, so I connect with you on because I was in pageants all of my life. I competed in the Miss Texas pageant.
Wow.
In the Mrs. Texas pageant.
Wow.
And so I totally, I totally resonate with this from the perspective of having a platform and using it as a platform to give yourself a voice. And I think that's probably why this allows you to do that. I mean, am I guessing right?
Taylor, 100%. I actually listened to an Oprah interview the other day, and she decided to not allow TV to use her, but she used TV as a platform to have a bigger voice to help the world. And I look at pageantry that for me. Pageantry came across my lap, and I knew that this was the platform that I could get behind to represent, to help more kids around the world. And that's what I've decided to do. It was funny. I was with Bart, my husband, in a restaurant in Utah, and we saw this article on the wall. The tiara caught my eye because it was sparkling. And so I Googled the article. I read it online whilst we were eating dinner. I know you shouldn't do that, but I had to know what this woman was all about. And she won. So she was Mrs. Utah 2019 and then won Mrs. International. So she's all about teen suicide prevention. And so she travels around the world bringing awareness and so forth to help kids. And I was like, but this is it. What do you think? And he was like, we have to do this. So it's not me. We are one. We are a team, me and Barton. So together we will travel around.
But let's go, because you had to go through the first pageant to represent your country. So talk about that and what you had to do and the responsibilities, because, sometimes people just think being in a pageant is, all glitz and glam. They don't realize the hard work that it takes and the money that it takes to do it, participate, and all the things that you have to go through, the training. I mean, it's almost a full-time job.
It is, Taylor. I see it as creating and molding future leaders who are actually going to get behind their causes and do something of service in their community or in the world. So when I read that article, I researched into it and found out that this international platform in itself, 50% of it was platform based. So that means, in business terms, your mission. What are you going to do in your community or the world to help your cause? Or for me, it's to inspire children to reach their greatness, their full potential.
And then, you know what? What's interesting about you is because you're from Australia, but you live in America. You almost kind of have two avenues or two arenas that you can have impact on. I love that.
Because my husband's American, I'm Australian. Together, we can touch and help more people. So going back to your question, Taylor, as I researched the international pageant, because I'm on a green card and I'm married to a beautiful man, and but I'm going through the process to get residency. So in order for me, because I was thinking about going through Mrs. Utah, but in order for me to compete for Mrs. International, which we'll call it the finals, I actually had to represent Australia, which is where my residency is. So I called the Australian director and I said, is this a problem? I live in America, but I see that I have to compete in Australia. And she goes, that is absolutely perfect. So I went this year. Oh my gosh. Yes, this year. Time's just flying with this COVID. Yeah. I can't believe it. So I competed for my country and I won the title of Mrs. Australia. And now the finals, if you'll call it that, is to compete for Mrs. International. So I'm Mrs. Australia International competing for Mrs. International, where I'll be able to travel around the world, inspire future leaders, and help heaps of children in the process, which I'm excited about.
Well, okay, so talk about that, like, because you're going to be traveling, you're going to be competing. You said in July, I believe,
yes.
for a week. Can you tell us a little bit about what's involved and how has it impacted your business? Like, let's talk about that piece too.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a different time right now because of COVID. So my business had to go online. So we do a lot of kids' parties online now, not in person, physical events and so forth. So for me, I will be competing for Mrs. International in July. It's all about ladies who are doing amazing things and rewarding them for their service. And it's all about the man and the wife. So when you're on stage as, competing for your area or your country, you're actually going to be, if you get crowned, you're going to be crowned by your husband, which is just beautiful. And so you do the walk with your husband on stage, and it's just celebrating women and their accomplishments, which I just love. So I knew it was the pageant platform that I wanted to get behind. And also, you don't have to get on stage with a bikini. It's fitness wear, which I am loving. But in the process, not only have I grown internally, but I feel that my fitness has also grown because I've got way more energy and I'm doing so many online interviews now. Normally it would have been holding events in person, but because of COVID, we have to go online. But yeah, and then so it has really impacted my business. But Taylor, it's also made me realize that it's not about the money for me anymore. It's really about how many kids I can help. That's where my focus is. And philanthropy is really at the forefront of the next 12 months, especially to 24 months with me and my husband. So in a way, I haven't come away from my business, but I know I'm here for a purpose. And before I have my own children with Barton, which will be very soon, I know I can help and change future generations. So maybe I'll be selling my business in the future. We'll see how that goes. But I think I'm transitioning from my business to being an events business to then being a coaching. So I'll coach entertainers how to have their own business. I think that's where the transition will happen. So I just keep on evolving. I'm never kind of stuck in what is right now. I just keep on following my nose to how I can better serve the world. And so, yeah, but it has been a process, Taylor. I've had to let go of events a lot because that's where my passion is. I love to perform and so forth. But I realize that I share my heart now, not in just performing, but to children. And in my book, I've poured all of my heart into my book and my mindset training for teenagers because I know I can make a way big difference. So very exciting.
Well, there's so many things in what you're saying here because, to your point of like, even going back to the first part of the conversation, I think that we're all we're born with something. I think that we think that there's something special, that we want to do, that we want to do something significant. I think that we're all born with that.
Yes.
But I think what happens, I think life happens. I think that sometimes that unfortunately we get environments like what you experienced at the first, maybe with a teacher or somebody that derails that thinking or derails that train, right? Yeah. Derails that innate desire.
Yeah.
And so, for those like watching and stuff, like, there's always time to come back full circle. There's always time to, come about. And what is it that you were born and created to do? What is it that you were special? Because there's nobody like you. There's nobody that has your assignment. You were gifted with an assignment for someone, for a group of people, for whatever that is, whatever your calling is. And so I love what you're sharing because there's so many lessons in this that you just keep putting one foot in front of the other. You just keep taking those steps. The best analogy is like driving in the fog, step A to step B, and then wait till you, and then take a step C, because the more you take the step, the more you can see the next step to take. Yeah. And sometimes we don't move because we think we have to see all the steps. And so you have such a great philosophy that can be gleaned from, the fact that you're not worried about what all the steps are. You just keep following the path that's unfolding before you.
Absolutely. Taylor, we have everything we need inside of us. Sometimes we don't have answers, but you can find them. But if you can just tap into every day in your morning routine or whatever it is and meditate or go for a run, but feel your emotions and really tap into that, because we are all one, we are all connected, but we do have our unique gifts, which we have to tap into. And if we're not listening or aware of our body, that's where we can tap into greatness, because we have everything inside. We just have to be still enough to listen to it as well. That's been a massive learning curve for me during the year.
So you mentioned like meditation or, things that you do. You obviously have trained yourself in mindset. What are some of the tools that you use? Maybe you can share with the ladies that that you use that help you.
Yeah. So I love that we're talking about this, Taylor, because during my process, it was probably year 5 of my business, I decided to start reading personal development books and so forth. And I came across the whole get up at 5 and conquer your day and all of that. And I was like, this sounds great. I mean, all these YouTubers are doing it, so there must be something in it. And so I started to implement the get up at 5. That was when I really needed extra time in the day. I don't do it as much anymore, but anyways, get up at 5. I love that. Meditation, exercise before I meditate. But I actually meditate with crystals in my hand because they vibrate when I'm in a good place. I know that sounds interesting, but when I can really detach from the world and just be in the moment, I can feel a vibration happening through there. So that's one thing that I do. I pray in the morning, and I also do my I am statements in the shower. So for those of you who don't know what I ams are, it's just basically standing there and feeling I am fearless. It's not about feeling what is right now, but it's about becoming. So for me, the word that I have this year for me is I am fearless, because I wanted to be fearless. I didn't feel fearless at the beginning of the year, but now I do because I've just come into my own. So every morning I say, I am fearless, really loudly in the shower before I get out, and call me crazy, but I actually put a little bit of cold water on myself before I get out of the shower. That just gets the blood really going. And I think the Iceman talks about that too. So I put that into my morning routine, and I love it. I'm all about it. But breathing is huge as well. And the Iceman, I learned a lot from him. But if you can really conquer your morning, it's actually true. Things start happening in your life, opportunities start coming in, and if you're open to receiving it. But if you've kind of woken up at 10 o'clock in the morning and you've had a late night and you haven't done things to wake up your body and to get the energy going, then law of attraction is just not going to work for you, my friend. So got to get the energy flowing and open your heart, connect to your love, which is inside, and allow things to come into your world. And that's when I believe you can achieve success, but you just have to believe.
I love that.
We're all capable of it. We are all capable of success in different degrees, of course. And we've all got our life journey, but you have to believe in yourself. I believe in you. So
I love that. So as the She Network, I mean, how can we, because, this is a community. This is a community of women, that my vision for this was about cheering for every woman, right, through their journey, and cheering for her and being in her corner as she walks through the process. And so, as you get ready to go out and do your pageant, how would you see us as a community supporting you? What would that look like to you?
Wow, that's a wonderful question, Taylor. Going to Mrs. International isn't about me, and it's not about being on stage. It's about the children. So if you'd like to cheer me on, I'd really appreciate that, and I'd love to connect with you as well. I do have a website. You can see my book launch when it happens in the next month, hopefully. And
we would love to, whenever you get ready to launch your book, we'd love to be able to connect with the community.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Just share it with people, because the profits go to the programs to help the children in poverty. So, yeah.
I'd love that.
Support me.
I love that. So would you do us a favor? Whenever you're traveling, maybe you can post some incredible pictures from Australia and maybe from your event, and share some pictures inside the group so we can, cheer you on from across.
I'd love to do that. And do you have hashtags? Because I need to use your hashtags.
Yes. So we would put, I would say, hashtag She Stories.
Okay.
And also the best hashtag best girl gang ever.
Love it. Oh my gosh, that's so much fun. I love it. Okay, I'll add those into all of my pageant journey photos, and you can use those hashtags to find me as well. But I'll definitely share in your group. Everything I share also has mindset training to it, just as my book does. So any tip and trick that I learn, I like to teach and share, because I believe that's the best way that you can grow yourself. So yeah, all of my posts are mindset related. So
whenever you come back, because I know that you're going to have a lot of things going on between now and the time you leave, but whenever you come back, I would love for you to come inside the membership, because we're just launching the membership. And for those of you who haven't joined, so we have a founding members special going on that you can become a founding member right this minute you can go to myshenetwork.com. And we're going to be doing an Instagram training in July for members only.
Right.
So I would love for you to come in and do a training for our members inside of like a mindset training and things that you use and tools, and share your excellence.
Thank you, Taylor. You are beautiful, and I love what you're doing. Your movement is absolutely beautiful, and the world needs it right now, because as we know, it's filled with negativity and all that. So thank you for sharing your heart, Taylor. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. And so, ladies, you guys make sure that you cheer Miss Laura on. You make sure that you give her lots of hearts and loves as she progresses forward. And we can't wait to see your book and support you in that process as well. And so I'm going to say bye to the ladies here, and we are going to just hang on with me, and I'll say bye to you privately. So that's it for us, ladies. I'm going to put in the inside the comment here where you can join myshenetwork.com. Love to have you. Founding member specials going on right now. So super excited. Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you. And thank you. I'm going to say thank you to Bart as well for sharing you with us today, since you're one together. So that's it for us. And that's it. Taylor and Laura signing off. Bye, ladies.